Nice job!
This is Raha Moharrak, the youngest Arab and the first Saudi woman to conquer Mount Everest. While climbing the world's highest mountain is challenge enough, for Raha it also meant breaking a taboo. The mountain of conservative Islamic tradition is higher than Everest could ever be, but she did it anyway. With the support of her family, she climbed the world's highest mountain and set an example for young women that anything is possible. You just have to put your mind to it.
So Raha, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us your absolutely fascinating story. It was May 18th, 2013.
Yes.
8,848 meters at the top of the world.
Yes.
How did that feel like?
Even though this is one of the most common questions asked, I never know how to answer it. I never know what to say. Because it was overwhelmingly amazing and scary and you're on top of the world, you know. So I felt, to be very frank, hungry, a little bit stinky, and really wanting to go home and have a long shower and eat like 5 burgers and 3 pastas and pizzas. But the actual thing that struck me was the fact that I felt grand and very small in the same moment. It was one of those really strange.
You have broken tradition. I mean, what you have achieved is just amazing.
It's hard to explain because I really felt so big, but also very small because I felt very tiny in the universe.
Already, it is quite an achievement for a woman to climb Mount Everest, but being a Saudi woman, breaking through all those traditional barriers, changing the way people are thinking, that just amazes me.
So if I had thought about what I was doing in that scale, I think I would have freaked out and never gone. But I climbed because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it, first and foremost, to prove the stereotype wrong. And then it snowballed into this huge cultural shift. I never thought of it as something as big as how it became. To me, I wanted to climb a mountain because I was told I couldn't climb a mountain. Do you know what I mean? It was small in the beginning.
Tell me about your inspiration. Now, obviously, your parents played a vital role in your life, and especially your father. Tell us about that and how he sort of laid the foundation for you achieving this success.
My parents are both the reason why I started and why I continued. They were the catapult that made me want to go, not for the reasons you think, not because they said, yeah, sure, climb mountains. For the opposite, actually, because they said, no, you can't climb mountains. Why would you climb mountains? Why? In the beginning. So that was the reason why I wanted to push. Do you know what I mean?
So if your father would have said, don't drive a racing car, would you now be a racing car driver?
Probably.
Now tell us more. So he just said don't climb a mountain?
No, I asked him, I said I wanted to climb. I was at a time in my life where culturally I was expected to find, Mr. Right and settle down, and I didn't have that. I didn't want that. I wanted to find him in my life. I didn't want to stop my life and just sit there and wait for him. So I said, no, I don't want to go and settle down and just wait for this to happen. I want to live my life, and if it happens, it happens, right? As it should be. And they said, no, it's time for you to settle down and go out to more weddings and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to climb mountains because it was the most random, far from the reality of what I was living. It was so far.
Coming from Jeddah?
Coming from Saudi and desert and all that. And it was an activity, and I love sports. It was outdoors. It was a new country. It had all of these cool things. It ticked all the right boxes. It was dangerous. So it had all these elements that I wanted. So I said, yeah, I wanted to do that.
Was it Mount Everest from the start, or did you start with lower mountains?
As a child, I've always dreamed of being an adventurer. I looked up to Jacques Cousteau, Ibn Battuta. I love these stories of people going and discovering things and Treasure Island and all that. I love these things, The Lost City. So I've always wanted to be an adventurer, to go on these grand tales. And then it manifested into climbing. And it started with Kilimanjaro because it was the very first one I did. And then I slowly developed the skill and the confidence to do bigger and bigger mountains until I saw Everest for the first time, but I decided to give it a shot.
So tell us about the day you went up to your family and said, Mom, Dad, my sisters and brothers, I want to climb Mount Everest.
So there's a backstory to that. So when I started climbing more and more mountains, my dad said, okay, you like the sport. I understand it means a lot to you. I don't understand why you do this to yourself, but I understand that you this is what you want. I'll help you. Just don't ever ask for Everest. He's like, don't ask for Everest. And I said,
Probably he shouldn't have said that because that made you ask for Everest.
At that point, I didn't really think about Everest, to be honest. I just wanted to climb. And then that same year, I did Everest Base Camp. And I was in the Himalayas, in that whole beautiful world. And I'll never forget the moment. So you see Everest from afar, because it's the biggest mountain. But there was a day where to climb the mountain, it's like a winding road. Yeah, it goes in loops. I came off a shoulder, and as soon as I came off the shoulder, I saw Everest close up for the first time, and I was like, oh, I was in love.
Love at first sight.
Yeah, my mom always says, I wish she look at a guy like how she looks at mountains. So I saw that mountain, and I was just like, I want to come back and climb it. And I kept it secret for a while. The people around me could see that I was determined to come back because they could see it in my face. They could see it in my eyes. They could see that I was infatuated by the mountain. But I didn't immediately come back and tell my parents I wanted Everest. So I came back and I started climbing bigger and more complicated mountains until the cutoff for the sign up for Everest came. And I had to tell my dad. I had to tell my parents I want to climb Everest. And I remember he came in the room after I came back from Antarctica, and I had already asked him for Everest when I was in Antarctica. So it was my birthday, and he gave me a satellite phone call. I was like, hey, happy birthday, what do you want? I said, Everest. He just hung up, and he just pretended like it's a joke.
He was in shock, huh?
No, he thought it was a joke. And then I landed back from Antarctica. It was my birthday, and he's like, no, seriously. I said, no, seriously, I want Everest. He just left the room. He couldn't handle it. He came back a while later dragging my mom. He said, can you talk to your crazy daughter? So he had a hard time to digest the fact that I wanted to climb Everest.
How many days did that take to digest?
It took like a week or so for him to come to terms with the fact that I want to do this mountain. And ironically, I applied and I signed up for the team. And then last minute, I decided to pull out.
Why?
I got nervous. I said, I'm not ready for this. And then he came to me and said, what happened? I told him, I'm nervous about it and stuff like that. And he sat me down and he said, I'll promise you something. We need to promise each other something for this to work. I said, what's going on? He said, you need to promise me that you will come back. You won't do anything stupid and you won't push yourself beyond your limits. You need to promise me that you won't go beyond that. I said, of course. I mean, besides, God forbid, something happening like an avalanche or whatever, I would never push myself beyond just for a mountain. He's like, okay, I'll promise to send you this year, and if you can't make it, I'll send you next year, but don't push yourself. And I promised him I'll never push myself, and he promised me he'll send me.
What kind of moment was that?
It was one of those weird, out of body. He just sat down, he was very calm, and he said, okay, I signed you up, you're going. If you tell me you can do it, I know you can. And he was very at peace with it, and I was looking at him like, what? Yeah, in the end, he was the one that pulled the trigger and sent me.
What did it mean for your family, allowing you, a young Saudi woman, living in Jeddah still,
at the time,
allowing your daughter to climb Mount Everest?
Yeah, I think
you broke every
kind of
tradition there is in your country.
I think they didn't, like me, they didn't grasp what it was. They didn't have a full idea of what I was about to attempt. I didn't have a full idea of what I was about to attempt. I was shocked when I came back and all the media and all that. I think it was just they say ignorance is bliss. It was one of those moments. We didn't really understand that it would be this big of a sound or a noise. I remember my dad, when I came back, and my mom, and they didn't even Google Everest, because I told them, I made them promise not to Google Everest.
What would they have found?
Well, my dad later, when I came back, Googled Everest, and then in the middle of the night at like 1 a.m. gave me a random call and said, "You're never climbing again! What happened? Someone sent me a documentary about the dead bodies on Everest. You're never going up there again." And I'm like, "Dad, it's 1 a.m. He's like, "I know, but it scared me." So he finally had an idea. And he always said if I knew what this mountain was, I would never have sent her. So I kind of cheated a little bit.
How cold does feeling cold mean? I mean, how cold can it get? Just paint the picture, because I was cold recently. I've been to visit my family in the winter just a few months ago, and I felt cold from time to time. But you must have just...
It's so cold it burns.
Oh my Lord.
Do you know what I mean? It's a type of cold that burns. Because any extreme temperature in your body feels the same pain. Extreme heat or extreme cold, it feels the same heat. It feels the same way. We only know extreme heat more commonly because we get burned more commonly than we get frozen. Correct?
Correct. Especially here in this region.
Especially here in this region in general. You are more like, because it takes a shorter time for you to get burned than it is needed for you to get frostbite. Frostbite takes a little bit longer, unless it's minus 100. Then you have the same effect as burn and frostbite. But the cells dying have the same feeling, whether it's burnt or cold, because it's a cell dying. It feels the same. So it feels like burning.
Does that mean that training in the desert is the same?
No, because the temperatures it's not 100 and something, as opposed to minus 50. It's not the same feeling.
So how did you manage to climb that mountain? I just wonder, were you tired? Were you exhausted?
Of course I was. It's 2 months of climbing the biggest mountain in the world. I was tired, I was exhausted. There were days where I woke up, freaked out, and then I realized I woke up because I was snoring. That's how tired I was. My own snore woke me up. Yeah.
How do you sleep on Mount Everest?
Very well, because you're exhausted.
Really? Yes. But the winds are so loud, and the floor is hard, and it's cold, obviously.
Yep. But when you walk for 10 hours a day, you will pass out after dinner.
And how many were you?
I can't remember, because there was guides and there was assistant guides, so we were a big group. And then I think in the end 10 made it. So 10 or so people made it.
What happened to the other people then?
Some people got sick, some people wanted to go home, some people... I don't know what was in their mind or heart, so I can't say gave up, because I don't think that's appropriate, because I don't know how they were thinking. But it shrank. The group shrank.
What is your biggest strength that also made all the difference to your achievement in climbing Mount Everest?
I think a few things made me a little bit more adaptable for climbing. I'm very disciplined. I've always been this kind of disciplined person. Like, if I put something in my mind, I put the time in. I really get obsessive with the things I do. I picked up volleyball really late in my life, and in a year I had the sports scholarship. I scuba dived as a child, and as an adult I decided to be a dive master. It's just the way I am. I like to focus. I don't know how to give less than 100%. So it's a characteristic. When I was studying design, it took all of my time and I focused a bit. And there was a year, I remember I promised myself I'll be on the dean's list, and I was. Like, I decided that year to be in the design. It's a character trait.
You set yourself a goal, you envision it, and you reach it.
I put the time in. The other thing is, I'm extremely stubborn. Sorry, mom and dad. I'm very stubborn. It's sometimes to a fault, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good, but I'm very stubborn. If I put my mind in something, it also correlates with being very disciplined. And the other part, I think, is I believed I had an opportunity to change what I didn't like about my culture. I had an opportunity to change a view that I didn't like. So I wanted to take this opportunity to the fullest. And I wasn't going to let a little bit of cold, hunger, stinkiness, exhaustion stop me from doing that.
So you're a person who likes to disrupt?
Not disrupt as much as I just like to... I live by my own guidelines. I don't want to fit in anyone's box. I don't want to conform to anyone's rules. I have rules that I love and I believe and I respect because I'm an Arab woman, I'm a Muslim woman, I'm a proud Saudi. So there are things that I like and I accept and I would love to follow. But there are things that I just didn't get. Why can't girls do sports? Why can't I climb mountains? Is it just because I was born a woman in this region? Is that the only indication that people had that made me feel inferior? So these are the things that I try to not live by.
Were you ever in doubt that you can reach Mount Everest?
I never climbed it thinking I would summit. It was always an attempt. I never had that attitude that I'm gonna climb it and I'm gonna make it. No, I just took it one step at a time.
It just fascinates me, and that you actually then make it to the top.
Yeah, because it's a mountain. You are not bigger than the mountain. You're a tiny speck of dust in this universe. So I never climbed thinking I'm gonna conquer Mount Everest. I really don't like it when people say conquered Everest. It's kind of rude to correct the media sometimes, especially when you're giving an honor. Please don't write conquered. It's not nice. But I don't like the word conquered because I didn't conquer the mountain. I was lucky enough to have a split second in time, split second in my luck, in my universe, whatever you want to call it. Good weather, good team, felt good. It was one of those moments that aligned and gave me a shot, and I came down. I didn't conquer the mountain. I snuck my way up there.
When you climbed Mount Everest, obviously you were in the media a lot back in 2013, and you still are.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's been a few years, and I'm still doing interviews, and I'm still being invited, and it's unbelievable.
So what was the response from your fellow countrymen and women?
In the beginning, it was a bit of a shock. They were like shocked about what I did, and I kind of get it. It was a bit of a
unconventional.
Yeah, I think they just didn't know what to expect. I think they just didn't know how to react. So I got both negative and positive stuff, and I take them all with stride. It doesn't. The negative doesn't bother me as much as what people think. Even the person that criticizes me, the person that doesn't necessarily like what I did, knows I exist. They know that a Saudi woman who climbed mountains exists. So they can't take that away from us, can they? Even if they don't accept it, even if they don't like what I did.
What was the best response you got? What was the worst response?
All the worst responses are the ones that attack my family. I don't like that they criticize my family. This is my decision. I decided to go. You don't have the right to criticize my family. And they're not very elegant in the way they allocate their message. It's kind of rude. And I'm like a lioness with the people I love. I don't like anyone bothering my loved ones. So I don't like it when they attack my family. It's none of your business. I picked it. I picked this career. It's mine. Some of the best, many. I'm very lucky. I've gotten little girls come up to me and say, I've done this and I've done that because of you. I've got grown men, fathers come up to me and say, I wish my daughter would grow up to be like you. I have, because I'm on my social media, I answer the stuff myself on my social media. I've had, a few months ago, a picture sent to me from a young Arab woman, and it said, Best Cadet.
What does that mean?
That's exactly what, I didn't know what it was. And it says Best Cadet, Best Astronaut Cadet, or something like that. So I messaged her, I said, I think this is a mistake. She's like, no, Miss Raha, you came and spoke at my school last year. And the very next day I applied for a space program in Singapore, and I got Best Cadet. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have the courage to tell my family I wanted to go. So that was one of the moments where I was floored. I was just like, oh my God.
You made all the difference.
It takes one heart to change a life, right? One change of heart. And she was sitting, I didn't know who she was. I can't remember all the students because I speak at schools a lot. But it was one of the schools in UAE, and this young lady signed up for the space program. That's one of my favorites. I've gotten amazing feedback and amazing compliments and amazing people coming up to me and saying, I've heard about you, I read about you.
MAD stands for Make a Difference. Is that how you make a difference, by inspiring others?
When I first came down from Everest and I got all the media, I was very aggravated. I'm a private person. I didn't want cameras in my face. Until this day, I'm not a camera person. I'm not comfortable with cameras. But I was so upset, and I took a side, and I didn't want to talk to the media. It was still in Kathmandu. And one of my teammates sat me down and said, you were on a mountain with me for 2 months, and all you complained about was the fact that you don't have sports back home as much as you should, as much as you want. He's like, you have an opportunity to change mentalities now. He's like, get up, go out there and spread your message. He's like, you have a platform, you have a voice, you have the world's interest, use it to your advantage. And he was right. I have an opportunity, I have a chance to change mentalities. Because if I exist, if a girl from Saudi, from an average family, I'm not superhuman, I'm a normal girl, manages to climb the highest mountains in the world. I went on 14 expeditions across 7 continents. And it's something like, I don't even know, 8 or 9 records now. I really don't care. But if I exist from the most average of situations in Saudi, other girls can exist too. Other girls can reach what I've done and beyond. So this is why I suck it up and I get over my camera shyness and I sit and talk to lovely people like you guys, and especially I wanted to thank MAD for giving me an opportunity to shed a light on my story, and hopefully it will change even one little girl's heart one day.
What is the situation in Saudi Arabia for young women?
It has improved in the last couple of years, especially with the appointment of Princess Rima bin Bandar Al Saud as the head of female sports. We have a head now, and the Vision 2030 is also, it correlates with the reform that we're looking for, more spaces for sports for girls, permits for gyms and all that. It's slowly starting to move, but I still think it's a little bit slow.
Men and women, will they ever be equal, especially in your country?
You see, equality is misunderstood, I think. I don't think we will ever be 100% the same, because we're not the same beings. But I think at some point we will reach a point in time where we are valued equally. Do you know what I mean? Where we have the same value. When a man gets the same pay as a woman, when she has the same weight in society. But I don't think we will ever be 100% the same, because we aren't, as human beings, men and women. We are not built the same. We are different entities. Between 2 women, they're not the same. So how can you expect 2 complete genders to be exactly the same? I don't think we'll ever be the same exactly. But I want us to be equal in weight, in importance. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense to me.
People focus too much on making us the same. We aren't. 2 men aren't the same. 2 women aren't the same. You can't put 2 people and try to weigh them the same way. Try to judge them the same way. But I think at some point in time, we should be able to be blind to gender in terms of capabilities, in terms of pay, in terms of opportunities, in terms of importance. And do you know what I mean? Like I want there to be no kind of demographic. Only 2% of CEOs are women. I want that to disappear. Only 2% or whatever of women work past the age of whatever. I want that to all vanish. And my favorite one to vanish, and I believe that one will go before I leave this earth, is the first woman to do this. The first woman to compete in this. The first woman to win that. The first woman to hold this, whatever. I want that to disappear. I want that to just completely be extinct. And especially the first Arab woman to do X and first Arab woman to do Y. I want that to go away. But that I think I'll see before I leave.
Your advice to young girls growing up not really knowing their place in the world yet?
It's okay not to know exactly where you want to end up as a young girl. But what's important is to have the spirit, to want to find where you belong. Many girls get overwhelmed and get lost and go down the beaten path because that's the easier way. And many girls are afraid of actually being who they are and afraid of telling their family, I want to be an engineer. I don't want to be a housewife. I want to be an engineer. A lot of girls are afraid. So the first thing is not to be afraid, to be honest first to yourself, who you are, and then your family. We live in a culture where we can't just get up and leave and do whatever we want. Well, that's not how we're programmed. We're not programmed to be independent and just to run away and not have a family backing. That's not how we are. That's not our culture. Be honest about who you are to yourself, be honest about who you are to your family, sit down, explain to them what you want. I guarantee you're going to hear a no one or a few times.
How many no's did you hear?
Plenty. Did it stop?
More no's than yes?
Probably. If I had to weigh them, yeah. And I took the no as an invitation. It doesn't mean a parent telling you, parents sometimes don't necessarily understand why you want this. And this is one of my favorite stories about my dad. He looked at one of my climbing videos and said, I don't understand. And the video was horrid, yeah? Face blown out with the wind, boogers, bleeding. It was a very bad video of one of my climbs. It was a windy day. He finished the video. It was in a pad, and then he looked at me. He said, I don't understand why you do this to yourself, but I understand that you need to. So most of the time, the parents won't understand the actual ins and outs of why you want this, but they understand that this is your thing. So be honest with your parents. Tell them, I don't want to follow this path because I believe I should do this. A lot of people are afraid to even say that. And if you can't tell your parents your dreams, then how are you going to end up there?
You're a very inspiring person. Last time I checked, you had over 18,000 Instagram followers. Yes. You're very popular on Facebook.
I'm very fortunate with my followers.
So I want to know how you make a living. Now, I saw you were working with an iced tea company. You're their brand ambassador. I saw you in wonderful Italian designer clothes. Yes. And you're taking pictures here down at the Dubai Creek.
It's really cool that I get climbing gear and high fashion.
Exactly. What happened from coming down from Mount Everest to becoming a brand ambassador for an Italian fashion brand?
I love it. One of my other messages is that you don't have to give up your femininity to be an athlete. So I intentionally switch from boots, ratty hair to high fashion in my account. I intentionally do that. One day this and one day that, to show that you don't have to be one or the other. You can be both. I think the whole fashion thing, it came about again randomly. I had a friend of mine that was working in a very, very high bag brand, and she told me, we would love to have you for one of the shoots to highlight your achievement. I said okay, and this was a few years ago, and it took off from there. Brands started to realize that I'm not just a mountain climber. I can be a role model.
An influencer,
even though I hate the word influencer, but I can carry the brand. I'm not just an athlete, or I'm not just a model. I'm a real person that can actually wear these things, and other girls can relate to me because I can look like them. I'm similar to them. I'm not a model. I'm nowhere near a model. So do you know what I mean? They can see a reflection of themselves. So brands started to pick this up. It was small, and then now it's become huge, and it's really amazing. And I keep saying I need a secretary because I'm overwhelmed with the.
So for everyone watching this, you can apply.
I answer. Yeah, I need a secretary. I really do, but I answer my own things. I post my own stuff. I joke and I say every single person in my Instagram is someone I've met or someone who has seen me, because it's not much, but it's
18,000 people. It's quite a lot.
Well, they compare me to the other fashionistas that have I don't know, millions. I'm not like that, but I meet them myself. Like I collect them one by one myself.
So what are you working on at the moment?
It's a bunch of different things. I have a big climb that I'm trying to lock in June. And the other thing is I started my book a few years ago. So I want to climb, and then I want to end the book with a climb. So it's there.
What's the title of that book?
I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Ain't no mountain high enough, maybe?
I mean, by the time I'm done, I think I'm going to call it book, because I'm just so exhausted with writing. I'm severely dyslexic. I can sit there and I can talk to you because I love conversations, I love people, but I type like this and it takes me forever to type. So I'm not really a typing person.
Are you self-publishing, or how are you
So
going
I
about?
decided to... So there's a ghostwriter that I wrote the manuscript, but it's nowhere near ready. And now a ghostwriter is editing it, and we do interviews every 2 days, every 3 days to fill in the blanks.
So when can we see that book?
I was aiming to do it end of the year, but it all depends on the climb I have in June.
So where's the climb happening?
Alaska. And I have a very special story with this mountain. So I attempted it a few years ago, and I nearly died on that mountain.
What happened?
Everything besides dying happened on that mountain. Avalanche, bad weather, teammates got sick, I got ulcers. It was a very bad, one of those horrid stories. So it took me a long time to get over my fear of putting my boots on. So I'm thinking of going back this summer.
How did you overcome fear?
It took like over a year for me to be able to put my boots on. It was pretty bad.
Did you sort of work on that fear yourself,
Yeah,
or did you consult someone?
I read a few things, and I met a few of my friends who are healers or are specialists in this field. They gave me advice, but I worked on it myself pretty much. But I did speak to a few professionals and see how I can do it. But I went on another climb, a smaller climb, in New Zealand, where I put on my gear for the first time when I climbed, which was okay. And then now I've had 3 or 4 shoots on the mountain. So
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, so I started to get back into snow and I gradually worked up the courage.
So June, Alaska. What's the mountain called?
Denali.
Denali.
Yeah, I call it my demon. I call it my monster. It scares me. This mountain scares me.
But you're facing up to it?
Yeah, I still want to go
there?
because I gave it up for over a year, for when I was working on my emotions. And then I said by the time I have my next birthday, if it's still bugging me, I'm gonna go. And I realized that I can live with myself if I attempt it one more time and fail, but I can't live with myself if I don't try one more time.
And if you gave in to fear?
I can't live with myself.
The year 2066, you will be 80 years in that year. Imagine you're celebrating your birthday.
80.
What will we be celebrating? What will your legacy be?
Oof. The perfect scenario would be, hopefully I still have my teeth.
And your beautiful hair.
I don't think it will last long, but I really hope I can still look good in 80. But more importantly, I imagine myself around so many grandkids and kids, and family members. Huge, big family. Somewhere sunny with a big fluffy vanilla cake and a legacy which is the happiness of my family, the fact that I have a grandchild who is the first one to go to Mars, and the other one is the first one to win Olympic gold for Saudi Arabia, preferably females. I can even accept if they were male, but I want a legacy that is my own, that me being a great grandmother that has achieved these things sets up the bar for the next generation. So I want the wall to be filled with trophies and certificates and of great achievements. I hope one of them can win a Nobel Peace Prize one day. You never know. So I want my legacy to not be a mantle, to not be a statue or to be something I hang on the wall. I want it to be human beings that go beyond what I did. I don't want climbing mountains I don't want to be the first Saudi woman to climb Everest, one of the most defining moments for Arab women. I want it to look like a footnote in history. I want them to come and go beyond that. Because it's a mountain. It's great, it's amazing, but there's so much more we can do. There's so much more we can offer the next generation. So that's what my legacy would be. I don't care if people forget my name. It doesn't bother me. I want to leave a legacy that is the wealth of the next generation, happiness.
Looking at the future, what are you most excited about?
By the way, that's one of my favorite questions I've ever had.
Which one?
This one.
The legacy?
Being 80.
That's what we do at MAD. We ask everyone about the future.
Amazing question. I've never had one like that. It's a good one. It gave me goosebumps a little.
What are you most excited about looking at the future?
The unknown. I'll always be a curious person, so I'm very curious what's going to happen. And in my personal life, I would love to finish this climb in my book. These are the 2 mountains I'm really trying to lock in. I've always dreamt of going to space, so you never know. I might be too old when that happens, but I might mentor.
You should have spoken to Elon Musk when he was in Dubai.
When was he here?
He was here about maybe a month ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was talking to the RTA about self-driving taxis. You should have spoken to him with his SpaceX company. He can send you up in space.
I know. I never knew he was here.
That's an even higher mountain, higher up than Mount Everest.
My very first dream was to be an astronaut. I remember.
So why didn't you pursue becoming one?
Because I'm very bad with numbers. You need this kind of level of skill in mathematics, and you need to be a full-rounded problem solver. And I'm really bad with numbers. I'm severely dyslexic. So I'm pretty sure I can fly it, but I don't think I can do the calculations.
Raha, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a real pleasure talking to you today, and all the best with your book, with your future challenges, with Alaska, with everything you plan to do. All the best. Thank you for inspiring us.
Thanks for having me. This means a lot, really.
Thank you.